Audio playing intro.
And welcome back to Two Coaches, One Grizz. I got a little pep in my step because the Giants, hey baby, 21-20 over the Titans. All right, Mr. Brian Dayball with stones of steel, right? Calling that on that 2-point conversion to win that game at the end. Nobody would have thought that he was going to do that there.
He went for a great job. Gutsy call.
1-0, baby. Woo!
Gutsy. Just because.
Now, enough about me.
When you start thinking about last night's wonderful game and not going for it on 4th and 5 and. Brian, Macbeth, oye, ven para acá. Aquí. Dale. 64 yards. You got this. Vamos. Esto no es nada. Dale. I got you.
There were no stones to be found on that field last night. Stoneless in Seattle is what we saw last night. We saw a coach actually, with a minute to go in this game, with 3 timeouts, let the clock run out because that's what he wanted to kick. I get it. Once you get it to that point, okay. But you have Russell Wilson, who you just got from said team that's beating you. You just paid the man $250 million. And this is his job, to get you a first down on a 4th and 5, to get you closer for a manageable field goal.
Preach.
Now, let's go and try the second longest field goal in the history of the league with a kicker that, yes, has made one, but he's 1 for 8 all time in 60 plus.
Preach.
And it was only done in Mile High Stadium where the elevation helped him out. So I have zero interest. And then you call timeouts with the kneel down and you're asking this ref, hey, I called a timeout. Settle down, man. The game's not over. I don't even want to start. Let's go.
Okay.
Go, guys.
Sorry.
64 yards on a chip shot? It's not easy? It's not right there? Okay, my bad.
Sorry. Okay, we started off. We came in white hot here.
You made Geno Smith look like the greatest quarterback in the history of NFL last night.
Hey, our boy Gino.
That guy's getting picked up tomorrow in about half the leagues.
Our boy Gino looked
all the
pretty
people
good.
who lost Dak.
So let's reset. Sorry, we came in a little white hot off of.
You know what it is? It's NFL football's back. That's
Hey
why.
baby. But we came in a little white hot because we were excited. First week of NFL football. I think, it's the best time of year. But, Coach, how are you doing today on this Tuesday?
It's phenomenal. I'm glad to be here. Always happy to be here talking with the Grizz, talking with the other coach and with the ace man when he's in the room. It always works out well.
It feels
So
we feel whole.
It's good. I'm glad that I've come back up from the deep dive of last week because I almost thought I was going to lose on myself on that one. Hopefully this week's deep dive does not drown us. We're follow or fade, guys. It's either one, please.
As long as
you figure it out.
As long as your deep dive doesn't look like that Chicago Bears Niner game with that field. And, I mean, talk about upsets. I mean, who saw that one coming?
Okay, so I'm glad that you started there, right? Because I think everybody in this freaking country was taking the 49ers on that game. You know what I appreciate the most is that Justin Fields, who has battled all of this verbal abuse, this slander for the past couple years of, he didn't deserve to be a top pick, he's not being developed right. Like, all that guy has done in the face of all this adversity where they haven't developed him correctly, they've literally done negative development or negative subtractions, really, of the team around him. Hasn't complained a lick. All he did was go out there and willed his team to a victory against somebody, right? Against Trey Lance, who was picked ahead of him, right? Like, he was picked with the number 3 overall pick ahead of Justin Fields. And all he did was will his team to a victory with nobody around him. Name a starting wide receiver. Ace, producer emeritus. No.
I can name one.
Go get it.
Mooney. He's one of the better guys he's got. He's a stud, and his tight end Komet is a stud as well. Now, with that being said,
Like I said,
I really think that Nagy did a really bad job with him.
agree.
I think that he didn't like him. I guess it wasn't the guy he wanted. I don't know. But he did a horrendous job.
But Coach,
well, look again. It's almost the Gates effect. Okay, Him and Trubisky both won yesterday.
But that's
both quarterbacks. Both ex-quarterbacks
but that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying, Coach. Like
he was bad.
Nagy had not one but two attempts at picking the quarterback that he wanted for that team, and he destroyed both of them.
And this kid's an athlete.
And this kid is an athlete. He's a stud. He willed this team. Like, this wasn't scheme getting him over. No, it's him running around, right, and making these plays happen to get them into scoring position and to get them on the scoreboard.
If you looked at any of the preseason games, though, he did show that in the preseason. He had a really solid preseason, and I thought that what they were doing with him, rolling him out, booting, they were all to his strengths.
That's what they should have done the first couple years,
correct.
Right?
And again...
This is year 2, man.
Well, first year, I should say.
But again, my whole conception is, and this is the way I look at it. In the NFL, you used to draft players to fit your team. Okay? Now, you draft certain positions to fit your team, but when you draft your quarterback, you've got your offense around that quarterback, what he's capable of doing, what he can accomplish. It's like Tannehill here in Miami. They tried to force him to be a pocket passer. He sucks at being a pocket passer. He's only good when he's rolling out or booting out. It's the only time he's effective. So again, as football evolves, offensive coaches need to mold their offenses around their quarterback's skills.
Put them in the best position to succeed, right? I mean, that's what it boils down to. Now, I do think Eberflus is his name?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ex-defensive coordinator for the Colts.
Right? I do think that they're going to be doing a lot more of that for him, okay, going forward, because he is a talent. Like, this guy, and let's do the dichotomy here between Trey Lance and Justin Fields here for a second, okay? Justin Fields, right, was a number 1 recruit, right, coming out of high school, went to Georgia, didn't work out for him there. He transfers to Ohio State, played against top-level talent. Like, this is Big Ten football, okay? And the guy has a head on him because he was the point man for the Big Ten actually playing football during the COVID season because they were about to not play. He spearheaded that, right? So he's not a dumb kid either. Like, he's an intelligent young man, hell of an athlete, okay? Played against top-level talent. Versus Trey Lance, who played how many games his last year in college? Okay, does anybody know? One game. Why? Because their conference did not play a season, and they created essentially a scouting game for him so he could put his talents on display. The guy passed 20 times the entire season because he played one game, and he was picked 3rd. Okay, ahead of Justin Fields, who played against top-level talent for 2 years at Ohio State, right? So, I don't know. It's almost like the GMs and the talent evaluators in the NFL, they almost want to be put in this position where they want to seem like geniuses for, we told you we picked this guy. Well, he's a diamond in the rough. Like, they want to make themselves look like, I don't know, savants when it comes to this, where the easy decision was, hey, let's pick the guy who had 2 years worth of phenomenal tape against top level talent versus the dude who played FCS and played one game in his final season because they created a game so he can get scouted. I just don't get it, right? So, and again, Justin Fields didn't play a phenomenal game. He only had 121 yards passing, and it went 8 for 17, but it was good enough for the dub. Go ahead, Grizz.
That was great. I loved everything you said. Still going to lead this team to maybe 4 to 5 wins. Fantastic. He's a great player. The team is not as great. They had a lucky first game, I believe, because they played in basically a pond. And you're right about Lance. I don't think he's as hot as being drafted that high, but so that's what the Niners wanted. And their offense has been suspect anyway with Garoppolo. So this is a great game. But next week, I want to see that against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay with a team that they themselves had their rough week because Aaron Rodgers needs to find receivers, apparently. But he will. And I'm going to see next week if that Justin Fields that you just told me about will show up. I don't think he's going to be a great player one day. It's just not this year.
Noted.
One game. Relax.
Coach.
I mean, I feel the same way. I think that the game under different conditions, it's gonna get played differently. I also think that Kittle not being there meant a lot. I don't think San Francisco won too many games without George Kittle. So, I mean, I think that we've really talked ad nauseum about a team that's not going to win more than 4 games and a quarterback that he had a decent game in a monsoon. And still, the San Francisco defense is 8th in the NFL in total defense. They did a great job in yards per play. They did a great job against the pass. It was little parts here and there where they made mistakes, and that's how they got their score. So it's not a. I have to see this over the long haul.
I think we should talk more about the other NFC teams that we just mentioned, Green Bay and the Minnesota game, because I got to give props. Minnesota came to play, and they shut down the Packers, which I still believe will win the NFC probably and go to the Super Bowl.
And one more note.
Because I do remember, before you said that, I do remember last year, their first game against New Orleans, they were just blasted out. And things worked out. So I just want to...
That mighty Bears offense is 25th in the league overall in pass, run, yards per play, yards per point. I mean, I'm just,
one game in. Let's see what happens.
That's what I'm saying.
No, exactly. Again,
so
I just wanted to.
It's not like Kansas City that came out on fire.
For a second, I thought Justin Fields and the Bears were your team, the Giants.
Did anyone?
You spoke very highly.
We're gonna get there.
Did anyone see Kansas City? Did anybody see Mahomes? I mean that offense looked wow.
Five touchdown passes.
I think I told you guys not to worry about the Chiefs.
They looked. Everybody
he
was.
Hit 10 different receivers.
All cylinders.
See,
all cylinders.
That guy, great quarterbacks will get things done. That's why I have no worries with my Rodgers and all the other greats because they make it happen. He went to his bread and butter. He went to Kelsey, said, "Hey, let's get back together, buddy." Hey, guess what? They still had a bad boy running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's been a little nicked up, but let's see. That guy gets on. That young guy Pacheco's going to be fire. They got talent still. And they have Patrick Mahomes.
And they've got good coaching on both sides of the football.
And they got consistently good coaching. Because remember, all these coordinators get swapped. They've had these people there for years.
Where did Spagnuolo get his start?
It's defensive coordinator of the Giants. Yeah, I get you.
Here we go.
You got to start from the bottom somewhere.
No.
Well said. Well said.
Hey. He won a Super Bowl with those guys.
Okay.
But no, agreed. I think the surprise, which, in retrospect, it shouldn't have been a surprise, right? You mentioned the Green Bay Packers and Vikings game, 23-7. Listen, Justin Jefferson might be the best receiver in the game right now. That guy,
but you know what?
Up. He was open though. They left him wide open. He caught one ball. He was like, I couldn't believe I'm this open.
Where did we hear that they were going to use him a la Cooper Kupp? Where did we hear that offense was going to be molded around?
Are you tooting your own horn?
Me? No, never. Beep, beep. I would never do that. Toot, toot. But I could have sworn that someone said
We're all looking at me, Louis here.
That it's like, hey, that guy and that offense is going to roll, and they did, and Minnesota beat the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. So they're in the lead in the North Division.
One game in.
That's one game. Listen, as long as we stay one game up and win the division, that's all that matters.
This is what matters. The Vikings needed to win this game.
I agree.
I just explained to you last year, I think it was 35-3 or something they lost to the Saints. And as my boy always says, RELAX, relax.
Correct.
My man's going to get this done. Remember, if that rookie was Watson, I don't even know the guy's name.
Now, if he catches a ball.
If he catches that ball, we got a touchdown. Remember, things happen. They might still lose. But things like that give you the confidence, and it spreads. And when you drop a ball like that, same thing. That spreads. And you start getting biggest stage. So, you know what? If you're going to have that drop, first play basically of the season, let's get it out of the way.
Yeah, get him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Get it out the way now.
You got the Bears Sunday night next week. You got prime time. Hopefully it doesn't rain. Beautiful dry field. Let's see how these guys play.
It affected him so much that our boy got a haircut after the game too. He's like, I gotta take the man bun out.
No, again, my contention with them is that again, Devontae not being there does affect that offense.
1,000%.
It does,
So
but
much.
You don't remember when he was out with injuries the last couple of years? They still had a great record.
But remember though, they've lost the other two guys too now.
Yes.
Scantlin's
Well, that guy
in
was hurt.
Kansas City. Lazard's got.
Lazard was hurt. Had he been in the game, that could have helped. Here's the thing.
Correct.
At the end, once this is over, this man will have his team in the playoffs. Minimum.
I agree, and I agree with all your points.
We don't count out the greats.
Right, you're never going to count out the greats, right? He's one who has proven time and time again that he's going to elevate everybody else around him. The guy has done more with less over his entire
What happened
career.
to the great on Sunday night? The GOAT didn't look that great, but he's part of a team. They win,
That defense, though,
and their defense is stacked.
that defense is
Their defense is
off
stacked.
the chain.
Let me tell you, that defense is balling.
Yeah.
Balling. Again, last year they got hurt. And that's why when they got to the playoffs, and we talked about it, we discussed it, that's why they were not able to keep up and be able to win the games. If they stay healthy, they're one of the top 3 teams. Bar none.
I mean,
none.
And at every level too, right? Like you got Vita Vea that's taking over, the middle of that defensive line, right? Like they haven't. They might be better actually without Ndamukong Suh and their other defensive linemen there because that guy,
those guys play the position and they play within the scheme,
right?
And then on offense they do just enough to get their points. Don't make mistakes. Don't force the ball. And again, I think Tampa Bay, if they can stay healthy, is going to be there at the end.
Now let's look at the other side of this game from last night, right? Middle of the game, Dallas couldn't get anything done offensively while Dak Prescott was in the game, right? He goes, tries to get off a pass. Okay, I think it was Vita Vea, right?
But hold
He
on.
slaps his hand.
But wait
and
a second.
Breaks a bone in his thumb.
Before we even get there, right? I go back to little things. On 1st and 10, you run Zeke. Zeke's running. All of a sudden, Zeke is looking like he deserves the amount of money that he's getting. Then we go, you know what? We're going to catch him by surprise and run a reverse or a double reverse or some stupid crap and lose 22 yards. Like, what are you doing? Why? You haven't even set it up. You haven't even looked to see if the backside end is chasing.
Feed the Clydesdale.
Like, for goodness sakes, like, do something.
Also sidebar.
Play action throughout the season. You don't have to give a reverse. You can throw Pollard a screen, a spot screen. I don't, again, those are the things that derail a good drive and give the other team the opportunity to go in and drive and set themselves back up.
Well, and watching the game too, I like that they had Pollard and Zeke on the field at the same time. Like that was something that was a wrinkle that we had talked about seasons past, right? Get both of them on the field at the same time, right? That's a threat that they haven't really explored in the past. So seeing that at the beginning was kind of pleasing. Now, side note, what a phenomenal helmet Ezekiel Elliott had on. He looked like a Power Ranger out there. It was amazing. Okay, we move along. But he does look.
Help us. Someone help us.
But he looked great.
No,
and
like
I
I
agree
said,
with
he
you.
looked trim. He looked so okay. Great start. A revert. Like I said, sometimes Kellen I don't know what he does. I don't get it. He looks like a superstar offensive coordinator, and then 5 minutes later, it's like he's a duck. What are you doing? What do you go? Again, I don't get it.
Now,
The thing that messes that team up is the coaching. From what you're saying with the OC, the head coach to me is atrocious. I don't even know why that guy's still coaching. I'm just not a fan of his. Never was a fan of
why?
his.
Because
he says yes to everything Jerry Jones says,
and A-Rod,
which is another reason.
And A-Rod,
Yeah.
carried him to a ring, about 10, 12 years ago.
That's true. But let me tell you, the Cowboys, I mean, this is why I can't stand them. They get all this pub. They got all this love. Then they're going to show up with a 3. That's what you're going to give me? A dud on Sunday night for the world to see? You lose your quarterback for the next 6 weeks probably? You're gone. You're done. Put a fork in them.
Oh, no.
Over it.
Yeah, their season's done. What frustrates...
The rest of the NFC East won, and you didn't. Come on.
That's it.
Come on.
And that's what frustrates me the most, right? Like, he is your franchise player, right? And they put a plate in his thumb, in his hand today, right? With the surgery. And you guys are not going to put him on IR? Your franchise player?
Didn't you hear Dr. Jones? Dr. Jerry Jones says he'll be back in 4 weeks.
Oh, the medical timeline, we don't know that too
Dr.
good.
Jones said we'll be back in 4 weeks.
Dr. Jones.
My quarterback will be back in 4 weeks. I tell y'all, he will be back. Dak will be back in 4 weeks. Now, mind you, I don't know if he's going to come with his thumb or somebody else's, or doing a Frankenstein on him. But our boy Russ last year came back in 5 weeks and couldn't barely throw the football the rest of the season.
Yeah,
those are not easy injuries to, and especially on your throwing.
It's not looking pretty for the boys.
I think the question here is, right, you ask yourself when you're in this situation is, do we have a Super Bowl roster?
No.
Right? So that's where I'm getting at.
They didn't have one almost last year, and they lost all those major players.
And if the answer, which I think we all agree here, is clearly no, then why are you not putting him on IR? You've invested so much money. That means that you have him for the long
because
haul.
the Zeke contract is still running, so they need to do something. Last year they won. They were last year's season was very turnover dependent.
What I don't understand is why are you trying to get into the head of a man that has shown you his cards his whole life? It's all about now, man. This is win now with the Joneses, and they never win. So I don't get it. They don't have that foresight of, hey, we got to shut things down, do the right thing, get our guy back. This guy gets hurt every year. It's clockwork now. You know what I'm saying? It's goodbye. That's it. And I love seeing that Dallas is gone. Get out of here.
So, staying.
Can we talk about better teams? Come on.
Yeah,
how about we talk about the team you guys said had no chance this year to maybe even get past 500? Don't you ever give up on a Mike Tomlin-led Steeler team. Come on now. defending AFC champs got picked off, 5 times? Can't kick with a kicker? Come on now. Mike Tomlin boys.
It's one game.
It is.
It's one game.
Just like you guys got, were telling me about this and that. I know it's one game. But it's one more game they need to get tonight.
It's 3 missed field goals.
You're right.
It's the Andeon. It's so many different things that happen.
It's that Steeler black and gold,
sir,
man. They come there to play.
That opening weekend win also cost them their best defensive player.
They lost their best defensive player.
Who with a torn pec. Now, he's going to get a second and a third opinion to see if he doesn't need surgery.
That animal will probably end up playing at some point because
sadly,
he's
gone for at least 10 to 12 weeks, sadly.
Well, they said 6 to 8 if it didn't require surgery.
And there's no other team, I believe, the next man up mantra more than the Steelers.
I don't know, man.
What the Steelers do.
Okay,
they're not going to win a playoff game. I'm not telling you they're going anywhere. But they're better than anybody believes they are.
I agree with you unless it's the defensive player of the year.
Correct.
The reigning defensive player of the year that they just lost. And the guy before getting injured was just unstoppable. And then the pec injury happened.
And they're losing to New England this week.
Oh wow! So is that a deep dive preview?
It will be.
They also lost Najee Harris in the middle of the game.
Can't wait to disagree with you more in a little while.
That's fine.
Well, speaking of New England Patriots, going into
what a waste of a football team those Patriots are.
The team that's near and dear to your heart.
Oh, what a waste.
Speaking of stones,
we didn't even show. Yeah, exactly. I was about to tell you. You think your guy has stones? Mine apparently has a wheelbarrow that he needs to carry his stones, said by our starting wide receiver, Tyreek Hill. Oh my God, we didn't even show what we got. This man said, "Wait, we're playing the Patriots. Let me bring out the vanilla playbook out." Because those Patriots are terrible. Mac Jones overrated. Get out of here, man, with your bad back. You got hurt.
We talked about that before. We talked about it last week.
This is top 5 pick now, I think they're going to be.
The idea of...
They might be worse than the Jets.
The idea of having 2 offensive coordinators.
Means you
Joe
got none.
Judge and Matt, I've got to pencil Patricia. Does not put fear into anyone's heart. Anyone. Again, the Lions, Stafford, they had one of the most prolific passing offenses in the NFL. Matt's pencil derailed it. Matt's pencil erased all of that. Yeah. So again, these are the offense, and this is the one time that I must question Belichick's
Acumen.
ideology. I would never know his acumen, but his philosophy, his ideology. What exactly is he trying to? I don't know, because both guys suck. Yesterday, your Giants, pretty much the same team,
willed themselves
with
to win.
Dable were a different offense, but they look different. I'm just saying. I know Saquon was healthy, and some of the guys were healthy. Guys were making plays, but they look like a different offense. Joe Judge was there for 2-3 years. Again, I don't understand what Belichick is trying to accomplish or do. And I disagree with you. I think Mac Jones will be a decent little quarterback. I don't think he's great,
Well, there's nothing little about that guy.
but I think he's going to be a
He'll
decent
become a journeyman soon enough.
wow.
By year 4 or 5.
Okay, so
he'll be
enough talk about the Patriots. How do you feel about the Dolphins win,
Like
Grizz?
I told you, I feel good. Much to improve. There's plenty to improve. Like I said, I don't think we even brought out half the playbook. And the 4th down and 7 is the biggest play of the game. You're in no man's land. That's
4th and 7. You mean to tell me
4th and 7.
that you can go for it on 4th and 7 or 4th and 5?
I know. Maybe
You don't kick a 64-yard field goal. You tell me that's part of the plan.
And that happened before that, because that was a whole day before that game.
How does that even
Apparently that man doesn't watch Dolphins.
My goodness, he doesn't watch anything.
And our boy Tua with the strike.
McManus, ven para acá. Da otra patada.
Perfect play.
Ven para acá, ven.
Perfect play for Waddle.
Do you think he even warmed up for that one?
Gosh, I don't know, man. But yeah, well, listen, the Dolphins I thought looked well. I think Tyreek Hill, though we've got athletes, we got players. The running game started looking well also.
We got a defense, man.
I think our defense stepped up and played really well. The kicker, which we were talking earlier, that guy, he's money. Again, they are in a good position. It just sucks that you have a team like the Buffalo Bills in your division. And those guys looked out of this world against the Rams.
Yeah,
They looked disgustingly good. Again, and conceptually, offensive play calling and the way they made things fit and unbalanced, motion Davis and play action and the guy's wide open. Again, it just sucks because the Dolphins have had to deal with Tom Brady for 17, 18 years. Now they got to deal with Josh Allen and a loaded cupboard because they're
this
loaded.
Is probably the best team the Dolphins have ever had during said 20 years of Brady. So, for one thing, I just need to see how they match up with the Bills when they play them.
And the Bills defense. And the Bills defense last year was good as well.
It should be
a
better game this year than
I get
what
you.
we had last year.
I understand. I understand.
I want to see that. I mean, it's a big test coming up for the Dolphins this week. You're playing at Baltimore. It's a solid test. But they didn't look like world beaters either. They were playing the
reason I like
Flacco-led statue.
I like Miami in this spot just because Baltimore is very run oriented.
You mean against the elite?
Yeah, against your elite. He's my starting quarterback in another league.
Elite quarterback.
As I was saying,
he's starting in another league too. Because that's where he belongs.
He's a good athlete. He's a good player, but again, they're very run oriented. So I think our defense will play well, and will give them an opportunity to win this game. That's my thing with Buffalo. Buffalo's just. It just sucks. It just sucks. It's great timing. It's just like now the Raiders. Raiders have a great squad.
You took it out.
Great squad, and everybody's check. It's like, thank God for the 60. McManus, thank God for those guys. Okay, that's the only thing that keeps us from the cellar. That's the only thing that might keep us from the cellar.
We did talk about the elite pass rush that the LA Chargers have, and Khalil Mack with the 2 or 3 fourth quarter sacks.
But let me tell you, don't forget and don't fall asleep on the Chargers back end. They have the best set of DBs.
And they're young.
They have the best set of DBs in that division and maybe in the AFC. That's what allows them to do some of the things they can do, and that pressure gets home because those guys can play on the backside. Okay, because if you take a look at it, when they tried to get the ball to Waller, he was covered by Derwin.
Yeah,
so it's not just any. It's not just
and
any
Derwin
safety.
Derwin James can match up with literally any tight end.
It's
Like
not
he's a
just
safety,
correct.
but that guy would play tight end
So
if
again,
he was on
it's
offense in
not
the
just
NFL.
any safety playing him. It's Derwin.
What a monster!
When he's healthy, the back end for the Chargers is a super. This weekend is going to be a great game. I'm telling you right now. I think that KC Chargers game is going to be fire.
Well, it's not the weekend. It's Thursday. Remember?
I'm sorry, Thursday night.
It's
Short
coming
week.
quick.
Short week, and it's not good for the Chargers because it is in KC, and usually home teams do well on Thursday nights.
Oh, especially that stadium will be going nuts. I think that's probably the game of the week, if I say maybe.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be. I think there's gonna be fireworks there too. I think Coach
there's
hit
a lot of good games we'll talk about later.
I think Coach hit it on the head. Like there's that game's gonna be off the chain.
But I do want to talk about a few games that we did have this week. The return of quarterbacks against old teams. Baker against the Browns. I mean, they looked. See, the first half they looked exactly how you said at the beginning. You said how the Browns would do, but I just think, and this will improve for the Panthers. I think throughout the year. Baker gives you that chance. He brings you back. They should have won that game. If it wasn't for the fact they had a late penalty at the end of the game that led to the... I mean, this is why you get kickers. If you want to draft a kicker early in the NFL, you get a man that just comes up there and could have drilled that from 70 plus. See, that's the guy that Hackett needed, apparently, to kick that one the other night. But, I mean, I think the Panthers are going to play better this year with Mayfield. I like him.
When he's healthy, he gives you a
so
different.
much better than Darnold. I mean,
yes.
It wasn't even
correct.
I don't even believe it was a fight.
Correct, and he gives you a different angle. He allows you to play roll out. He just gives you a different facet to playing that gives them the opportunity to win. And that's another one that CMC needs to stay healthy. If he stays healthy,
that's the key.
If he stays healthy, they can win. If he stays healthy, they can win.
I think you hit it right on the head, Coach. Like if his Baker Mayfield's success is going to be predicated on CMC staying healthy, because if that guy goes down, he's going to be getting cover zero and bullets fired at him all week long. Because his game is predicated on let's get him out the pocket.
Listen, brother, same thing with the Giants. Is Saquon? Those two guys bring such a different level,
correct,
to the running back position, because they can not only run the ball. It keeps defenses
honest.
They don't just run the ball. You can throw it out of the flat and you boop, boop, and boom, he's gone 65, 70. So that's why those guys, keeping them healthy is such a big deal.
Yeah, well, this week they play each other.
So
we'll see the battle of the injured running back.
Hey, watch
no
yourself.
need for injured running backs.
Hey, now, I don't have any.
Healthy running backs. Healthy. Don't speak that into existence, sir.
So, I think we've already broken down, this past week's slate of games. Let's look forward into this week. What jumps out at you on this week's slate, this coming week's slate of games? We already spoke about the Chargers and the Chiefs going at it on Thursday night. What other game do you see here that's going to jump out, at first glance?
We touched upon Miami and Baltimore. I think that's going to be another good game. One of the games that, as boring as it may sound, that I'm intrigued to see what happens. I want to see what Indianapolis does at Jacksonville. They haven't won there in I don't know how many years.
They haven't won there. They haven't won the season, because we didn't touch on that game.
Correct.
They tied.
Correct, but they didn't lose. But they
tied.
That's okay.
To the Houston Texans.
A tie is better than losing.
I know, but to the Houston Texans. The fact that they tied is very worrisome to me.
No, but like I said, we'll see how that works out. Again, these division games early are always tough. It's never easy.
Well, and the Jags, we didn't speak on them either. They lost to the Redskins in another game that pretty much didn't need to be talked about. But they looked okay. And I think they're going to give the Colts a little trouble. I don't like how the Colts played that first game.
They, for whatever, Reich's teams always struggle out of the gate. I think Tennessee and Buffalo.
Not good.
And I'll tell you what, Minnesota and Philadelphia, to me,
both
is a shot. It's going to be an amazing football game.
I just don't like both those games are Monday night, though.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be a juggernaut game right there. They're just going to blows at each other.
It's Minnesota playing outdoors. It's Minnesota playing outdoors, which, again, most dome teams don't play too well. It's Kirk Cousins playing in prime time, which he doesn't do well either.
Nope.
So we'll see how that's going to work out. But again, those are the games right there, those 4 or 5, that really stand out.
Don't miss one that I thought you would have said.
Ooh.
Bucks and Saints.
Well, I'm sorry. Yes, the Bucks and the
That's a
Saints
huge
play.
game.
That's
I'm
a
seeing
huge
that.
game.
Yeah, the past
You're
couple
absolutely
years,
correct.
the Saints have had
Have
the Bucks
owned
number.
them. They've owned Tampa Bay. And by the way, I want you to know the line opened up at 4, and it's moved down to 2.5, 3. I've got 3 places with 2.5.
That's gonna be a fun one as well.
And Tampa Bay's getting 50% of the bet, so that tells you where the money's going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and then when you look at the Bucks, right? Like Brady took an 11-day absence from preseason camp, so it was kind of almost understandable. He was a little rusty.
Waste of talk. 11 days. I could care less about those 11 days.
No, Grizz,
What rust?
but that does make a difference.
No.
That does make a difference
To
when you're
other
talking
people.
to your when you're talking about building a rapport with your receivers. Remember, Godwin was out; he didn't play all of preseason. Right? They held him out, rightly so, making sure that he got back. And then it wasn't even his knee that got him out in this last week's game.
Year
He
3
pulled a
with the
hammy.
Bucks. If this was year 1 with the Bucks, maybe. And even then, it's Tom Brady. That man is a coach on the field.
I understand.
I think it's
but
much
when you're
to
not,
do
when the field
about
general is
nothing.
not there, right, as much as he should have, getting those reps in, and again, you have a couple guys who didn't play the entire preseason there because Fournette was held out a lot of the preseason. He looked great, but again, that's another guy that we need to
Nobody
keep healthy.
plays the preseason anymore.
Godwin, right,
Right.
held out the entire preseason,
Yeah.
had a stellar start to the game, pulls a hammy. You can't negate the fact that some of that.
He pulled a hammy because Brady was out for 11 days.
No,
I get it. I
but-
can
no,
pull
but- but I-
together those two. Coach,
But I'm talking about.
I can see this.
I'm talking about the fact that there is rust on that offense, okay? And you can't negate the fact that that hamstring pull doesn't have anything to do with him not seeing full speed time in preseason. Like there is something to be said there.
That has nothing to do with Tom Brady's 11 days off, though.
No, it has to do with the
No,
gelling.
Mrs.
It has to do with
Mrs. Tom Brady had to do with the 11 days
it.
off. Come to the Bahamas
What I-
with
That's
the
it.
kids, or else it's gonna
That
cost
guy was
you
about to retire.
millions.
But
It's gonna cost you millions.
Yo,
understand what
I
I'm
want-
saying.
I want
let
half.
Tom Brady
gelling,
I want
gelling,
half,
of,
Eddie.
gelling of the
Eddie,
offense.
Eddie,
that
I
has
want
something
half.
to do with it.
I let Tom Brady take 11 days off in the middle of the season. I don't care.
No, that
Are
means
you out
that
of your
he would
mind?
miss a game potentially too, sir.
Let him miss 2 games. I don't care.
So
It's
now
Tom Brady, bro. I mean, what are we doing here? What are
So
we
now-
doing here? Am
now we're load managing.
Sir,
It's
sir,
load
it's not
management.
about low managing, sir.
The wheels
Sir,
are falling.
once again, we're
The wheels are
talking
falling
about-
off the wagon
we're
here.
talking
Sir,
about
it
11
was
days.
simple. The old
Like
Eddie
my
Murphy.
old, old buddy AI used to say, what are we talking about here? Practice, man. We're talking about practice, not a game. Practice. Homie missed 11 days,
if
not
he
a big
didn't
deal.
take those days off, he was not going to be a happy Tom Brady.
He needed
And
those
an
11
unhappy
days
Tom
off, and
Brady
that's all that
doesn't work
matters.
because he's got turmoil, too much
So-
things. He
How
can
many-
come back. Listen,
Okay, so we're
How
just
many
no
teams-
gelling of the offense. All right, got it. Cool.
who on this offense is that new that needs to get
It's
gelled?
been 3 years
Tell
with
me,
these guys, bro.
who needs jelly? Tell me, who needs to watch his
Oh,
jelly
Julio
so
Jones,
much
maybe
on
he
this
wasn't
team?
in sync with Julio Jones.
Ah, he didn't gel. That way,
that was a
uh,
dime.
How was that?
That was Julio Jones. That was Julio Jones.
Oh, guess why?
They didn't gel.
Guess why? Because he's a savvy veteran. And these veterans don't need that. If you're talking about year 1, year 2 of these players, I get it. This is a guy in his 23rd year. The guy falls out of his bed throwing
Now
dimes.
you want to tell me that maybe some players felt slighted, they didn't feel it. Okay, maybe there can be disgruntled stuff in the locker room. Okay, maybe. Okay,
You remember the 90s Cowboys?
I'll give you that one. Okay.
Jimmy would say, hey, bro, Mike Harvey and Troy Aikman, Emma Smith, they're getting all the fun
this
stuff.
is great.
But
Deal with it.
Gel?
Gel.
No. Neither hair gel nor
This is
Walter's
great.
jelly. Neither one.
This ain't one of
Okay?
those foot commercials.
Right.
We gelling?
We're gelling.
No.
We're gelling.
We smelling with this bull.
Right.
Come on.
Like Magellan.
Ay, Dios mío.
What do you think about the Cardinals Raiders game in this coming week? They're
think
trying
so.
to get this thing back on track.
I think the Raiders win. I do think the
Raiders.
Raiders will be able to win and dominate this game. Sadly, I think the end of season drop off is coming to the beginning of the season drop off for Arizona.
Cardinals.
I don't see the Cardinals
One thing
winning.
that
the
Hop-
Kingsbury fade.
They need Hopkins back soon.
Yes.
The Broncos should get their woes back in order against the Texans. I believe that should be done. I think the Bengals will feast on the Cowboys. I mean, I think the Cowboys are going to start out really bad.
Yeah, there's no way Joe Burrow stinks it up like he did this past week.
This is the week of the feasting of the teams that should have won. Niners are going to show Geno Smith and company what's up. Rams are they get the Falcons, so they're getting some feasting.
I'm gonna respectfully push back on the Niners and the Niners Seahawks game.
Really? Okay.
Because the defense looked pretty solid. Now, that's also Adams also went out with a knee injury, so let's see what happens there. But they looked solid up front. They look solid up front, so let's see what happens there. See what happens there, gentlemen. I think this
wraps it up.
This wraps up a fruitful first segment of our recap of the first week of the NFL. We're going to be right back with some college football talk. And the fireworks are sure to continue here in the second segment as we talk about the lay of the land in college football after the second full week, right?
Second week
of college football. We have to start with the Alabama-Texas game. I mean, what a game to watch if you guys saw that live. Alabama takes down Texas 20-19. In my opinion, Texas should have won that game. I thought it was a BS call that they took away that safety against Bama right in the fourth quarter of the game. I think that should have been a safety, okay? That would have put Texas up. Now, Texas, you should have not gone prevent defense and allowed them to march down the field at the end of the game there. But 2019, Grizz said this off the air. They went from unranked to 21 in the rankings with this 1-point loss against Bama. Close call by the number one team in the country. It's safe to say I think they go scorched earth the next few games to dispel any doubts. Coach, what are your initial thoughts here?
Well, I mean, again, it was a very even game. Each team had 370 yards of offense. The Texas Longhorns were able to throw the ball for almost 300 yards on Alabama. Both teams had almost the same time of possession. I thought it was a very good football game by two really good football teams. I really do believe that, again, when it's all said and done, Texas has a shot to win the Big 12. I think Alabama is going to be there like they always are. I think this is a good wake-up call for them. I think it puts Mr. Saban back where he likes to be. Got the juices
flowing again.
It puts him back where he likes to be with his players, with his kids, what he can talk to them about, how he can get them motivated.
Right.
Okay? It's a good game. It was a good game. It was a good college football game.
There's nothing better than trying to tell your team, hey, you're an underdog, you need to do this, do that. But since they're always such animals, always so good, if you can't lose and win by one, this is the closest to the loss. Hey, we could do better. Everybody's against you. Nobody thinks you're going to win now. It's perfect. He probably went home that night so happy, knowing that they still got the win, but now I get a chance to use all these little special
cards. Got on the bus with a chubby.
Yep.
Yeah, he's licking his chops here for this next week of practice. I thought it was an impressive showing by Texas. After
didn't they lose their quarterback?
That's what I'm saying. Quinn, you're taking it right out of my mouth here. The Quinn Ewers, right?
Hey, I don't want that kind of language out here.
Coach. This took a weird zig when I was trying to zag here.
Like I said, go ahead.
Quinn Ewers gets driven into the ground early in the game, and the backup comes in. Who is a stud, by the way?
Who was a starter last year?
Right.
Don't forget now, they had two quarterbacks. One of them ended up going to Nebraska, and it's now cost Scott Frost his job. And this other guy that stayed,
Hudson Card,
who is the backup, and he's a solid kid.
And the guy showed some grit, man, because he jacked up his ankle mid-game, stayed in the rest of the game, and again put them on the precipice of a phenomenal.
And the Texas
upset.
Defense played a lot better than what they showed last year. Because again, that was another question going into this season. How was that defense going to play? How are they going to be able to do? Because last year they sucked. So they showed their grit. I think that they showed what they can do and what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not one to talk about like moral victories or anything here, but it was a good showing by Texas. They showed that they can go toe-to-toe with the best in the country, and I think it propels them the rest of the season, right? It gives them the confidence to just and let's not forget the fact that this is a Steve Sarkisian-led team who had to spend a couple years underneath of Saban to kind of improve or restructure his reputation here. Because after leaving USC, he was not. They did not have a good perception.
He had his issues with alcoholism and things of that nature, and he was able to beat that. And that's one of the things that I have to give Saban credit about. He's taken so many coaches that have fallen on hard times. They've gone to Alabama. They've rebuilt themselves as coaches,
and
as men.
Yep.
Okay, and their reputation as well. And they're out there now coaching teams and leading players.
The only thing Alabama can say about this also, they did not get upset like other teams, because to me the biggest story of the weekend was the Sun Belt Conference.
Ooh.
Destroying everybody's team.
Just going scorched earth.
App State upsetting mighty A&M. You had Marshall beating Notre Dame.
Sorry, Novus.
Didn't want to say it. And then Georgia Southern getting the... you said this earlier, getting the coach.
Putting the nail in the coffin in Scott Frost's. And
at Nebraska,
it was
Georgia Southern.
45. Georgia Southern hadn't scored 45 points in like 2 years. Incredible. That defense sucks. And it's funny.
Terrible.
I don't know who I was talking to on Saturday. And I said, you know what? If Scott Frost doesn't fire his defense coordinator, he's going to get fired. Well,
then what happened?
And he got fired. And they can't stop anybody. It's for God's sakes, Duke beat Northwestern, stopped the run, limited the run, and Nebraska couldn't do it.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
College football's become strange. But just when I thought I was upset, I was at the game. I think you were too, Coach.
Yes, sir.
For the Miami Southern miss. I was upset how we looked. We were sloppy. We could have played better.
Came out flat.
But Southern Miss are a Sun Belt team. Now I feel we came out of there lucky, because it was just carnage.
So let's talk about that for a second, right? Like, let's kind of...
A&M, the team we're playing next week that I thought...
But remember now,
but
App State, it's going to be a tough game.
It is
one of the worst things that could have happened.
No, I know.
Was them getting upended.
Because now they wake up themselves.
Them getting upended. Now all of a sudden they are having a great week of practice.
Correct.
Jimbo's got them fired up. It's gonna be
But I do believe
dog
Maito will get the Canes fired up, saying, "Hey, they've been beat. Now you know they're coming with their."
It's gonna be a dog.
I think it'll be a great game now because of all this. But I feel cheated because I wanted to beat the number 16.
Correct.
But App State, big game killers.
But with that being said, App State scored 40 points week 1 in the fourth quarter to almost beat North Carolina. Yeah. They beat Michigan at the Big House a few years ago. Yeah. Last year they came here to Miami and they gave us all kinds of hell.
Yep.
Until we finally were able to win at the end. So App State is one of those giant killers. It's not really it's Butler, the old Butler in the NCAA basketball.
It definitely is. But Jimbo, I mean, that's unacceptable. You can't with the type of recruiting, the type of team he's built.
But let me say this. Everybody has blown Texas A&M up so much.
I don't think they were as great as 6, but
people forget that they went 8-4 last year.
Yeah.
They beat Alabama, which happens. Okay, but their better players are not really seasoned players yet. Their quarterback this year got hurt first game of the year last year. So this is his first season.
This is why the rankings at the beginning of the year suck. Because you give expectations to these teams, load them up thinking, we're better than what we are. Or a team like Texas that wasn't ranked should have been a team probably ranked from the beginning. That's why I believe you got it. Week 3, week 4, maybe you start doing
you blow up the whole ranking of the recruits. Oh, the number 1 class. Yeah, but that's for next year. This year they're not gonna.
Listen, I have to bring this up because the head coach for App State, Sean Clark, like, to his credit, that dude has gone on national stage, right, on air and said, it doesn't matter. We'll go anywhere, anytime, and we'll take on anybody. And time again, they come out, and again, they don't always win those games.
He's an old line coach, baby.
They're going to go toe-to-toe, and they're going to drag you down into the deep end, right? And they're going to try to suffocate your ass. Like, and listen.
They recruit to their scheme. They have good running backs every year. Their quarterback is a solid quarterback. Coach Ponce did a great job the times that he's been there, coaching their quarterbacks. That kid Bryce is a stud kid at quarterback. They got a couple receivers. Their defense is always tough.
But I told you, that whole league. Remember, Old Dominion is in there. They just beat Vatech. Coastal Carolina, which was the team to beat last year. All these small teams have that.
Grizz, if you kind of look at it, right, and you know, App State has kind of overshadowed Marshall in the past decade or so. But
Marshall used to be that team.
Right. Marshall used to be that team. But what I'm saying is that they've followed that format of, they've built their programs up the right way, right? Starting as lowly, 1AA programs, going into FCS, then going into, marginal conferences, and just building up these teams, like Coach said, building their players and their roster around their schemes and just continuing to build. Like, they don't lose a step. They're always going up, right? They're always building.
That's why.
And it's so impressive.
That's why this is the hotbed of who the next coach for the next big team is.
Correct.
Because they want to get it from these. And then if they stay there long term, they make that happen because you need the consistency.
And it's an institutional thing too, right? Because through all the coaches that have gone through those programs, they continue to that.
This is year 2
because they keep reminding them, hey, you remember when we beat them at the big house? You remember when this happened? We are that team. We beat big games. We won it. And you can't be these teams that don't want to play big games every year. Go play the hardest teams. Who cares? Give them. You're going to get a fat check too, by the way.
Yeah.
Like all these teams that won this, they got paid to go get slaughtered.
It, right.
And then they beat you.
Right now.
Like going to Notre Dame.
One of the biggest turnaround teams right now is Kansas. Mm-hmm. Where did the Kansas head coach come from? He came from Buffalo in the MAC. That guy is establishing his program. He had a tough time last season because he got hired late in the spring, got hired late in the cycle. Last year was a wash. This year, all of a sudden, they're balling. They beat West Virginia, double overtime. They're playing. They got a good quarterback. That kid's a stud. He's a good athlete. I know we don't really get to watch much Kansas, but if they put him on TV, watch that kid.
2 years of doing good at Kansas.
That kid, he'll be out.
Some of it's taking him off, and then
else.
They gotta hope to get someone that's just like that. I like upsets. They're fun.
The next guy to go. I'm telling you right now, the next name is a guy from UTSA, Texas San Antonio. He's the next guy that's going to get that move to move up. They've been doing a great job. They play at Texas this week. So that's again.
They were born 15 years ago, that program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Our old ex coach here.
I know.
Yeah.
Coker.
He
started them
Jesus. Well, talk about a flashback or a throwback, I should say. Another nice game to watch that was, pleasantly surprising was Washington State, Wisconsin. Like, that was a big time upset there.
It sucks because that's one of the games that, again, I had and I just didn't
pull the trigger.
I left so many on the floor last week that it bothered me. And we had such a bad week.
Not the Kentucky game, though.
No, not Kentucky, not Northern Illinois. Kentucky, we called that out well.
I called them straight up.
Yeah, you did. And Kentucky they've been playing. Let me tell you something. He's won.
One of the best interception touchdowns I ever seen.
He has won 4 of the last 5 years. Stoops is doing a really good job there. And when they get up for Florida. I don't know what it is, but they get up for Florida.
Of course, because Florida beat them 28 straight times. You want to get up for a team that destroyed you every year. And now, 4 out of 5, who's your daddy?
It's fun times. All right, let's look ahead to this week's slate of games. Which one jumps out at you right off the hit? Give it to me. Nothing?
I'll tell you what, the BYU-Oregon game is one that does jump out at me. BYU has beaten 2 decent teams. Well, not decent because they beat the crap out of South Florida. South Florida sucks. But they played Baylor real tough. They went double overtime and won that game. Oregon got a reprieve, week off after getting pow with Georgia. So we're going to see really what Lanning can do against a BYU team. I like BYU. I think BYU wins that game. Oregon is favored by 3.5. It started at 4. They're at 3.5. That is one of the games that we'll be taking later on. I'd like to see what happens with Nebraska and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's got to go to Nebraska. Let's see what the new head coach does. Let's see if that defense can stop anybody. I highly doubt it.
It's gonna be bad.
It looks nasty.
It's gonna be bad.
I'm looking at the Penn State Auburn game.
That's
going to be a fun one.
We'll see. We'll see if Penn State can win that game, and we'll see what Auburn can do. Auburn's just struggling. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they can rally the troops in that game, because Harsin needs to win.
That's good stuff there.
Mississippi State LSU is another nice game. Mississippi State travels to LSU. Coach Kelly really needs to win this one, but I don't know, because that quarterback for Mississippi State, Rogers, is looking unbelievable.
Nothing would warm my heart more than to see that guy drop another one against Mississippi State.
I'm sure there's a couple of guys who would enjoy it. Another game that I have circled is Southern Methodist SMU against Maryland. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. I think that game's going to be an exciting game.
Yeah, it looks like a barn burner. Grizz, what are your initial thoughts on Miami, Texas A&M?
I like the fact it's a later at night game. I think this is the test we need. We haven't really shown our whole playbook. I have obviously faith, being a fan. The fact that they lost against App State does bother me, because, like Coach said, you got that their wake up call has been put on. Had they won close, that wake up call would have been there too. The fact that they lost at least will show the Canes that they're beatable. So it works both ways. Yes, Texas A&M is going to be juiced up, but it also shows, hey, App State can come in here.
Hopefully they give whoever that guy was, that kid was, that I don't know. Have you guys seen the video on the Texas A&M? There's like
that they were
like in a pep rally or whatever.
So they do the pep rally the night before, right, the 12th man, and they go off, and they went off very badly on Boone, North Carolina. And
do they even know? That's why they got their names on their jerseys, because they don't even know their name. They can't spell their name.
That didn't.
God.
That really doesn't live that good in the internet.
That didn't age well.
When you do things like that,
that was amazing.
Your team needs to back
That was amazing. I'm hoping they do a remake.
Oh, fantastic
for the Canes. I would love that.
I think Maito puts that on the bulletin board.
Yes.
Old school Jimmy Johnson.
Yes, if we could
when
get
he
that,
would put the videotape of the Knowles talking about us. Listen, I have all the faith in the world. We're coming in, they're jacked up, ready to go, because I think this is the kind of team that's going to play well on the road. I think we're going to be a very good road team. I just have that feeling. Sometimes you know, being that I'm partial, I don't think that the home crowd is always the best early in the season for the Canes. So I just feel like they're going to see, because I've been to that stadium in College Field. That is an amazing place to play football.
I'll be there this weekend.
Amazing.
You're going to College Station?
I'll be there this weekend.
I'm happy
Thursday
for
night.
you.
Take some videos.
I'm happy
there.
for you,
I'll be
brother,
there, buddy.
because I'm telling you, it is awesome. However, we went there when they weren't that good. We won easily, so it's going to be a tougher game, but it's going to be an awesome game. I have no doubt. Go Kings.
Grizz, I want to make a friendly wager with you here. I see San Diego State, Utah. I'm if I was a betting man, I'm thinking that's going to make it to the deep dive in the next segment.
No, it's not. It's not because there's too many points. San Diego State's offense sucks, and Utah is in bounce back mode. Another
nice one that the coach likes is Fresno State against USC.
I do.
Hey, baby.
I do like it. I don't have it on the deep dive just yet.
The Beavers pulled it off against them last week.
They did. And by the way, that was one of our teams last week. Fresno State was up with 1:05 left. They scored to go to take the go ahead,
on its final play,
and they took it all the way down and they scored. So again, that's the way we get beat. We get beat in double overtime. Get beat at the end of the game. Not only against Arizona did we get the laugh. That Mississippi State beat the crap out of us, But no, I do like that game. But I like to if we could get it at 14, if people start buying up USC, I think Fresno State is gonna. There's a lot of things in the Stanford game. If you take a look at it, okay, Stanford drove the ball in the first quarter and was inside the 5-yard line 3 consecutive times. First time they scored, second time they threw a pick, and third time I don't know if they threw another pick. They had 4 turnovers in that game. If Stanford did not turn the ball over, Stanford stays within the 10. No, it upsets me because if you take a look at the second half, they dominated the second half. They kicked the crap out of them in the second half. Okay, and that's my biggest issue with. Okay, I know USC is going to score points, and people feel pressured to score points, but you got to kick field goals too. If they're up 14-10, okay, and they score and they're up 21-10, it's not the same as 21-7. You score another touchdown, it's 21-17. You're in the game. Once you spot them 2 scores, all of a sudden you start, and especially you get down there, you throw a pick, your defense is like, man, bro, I can't believe it. No, you got to keep scoring, whether it's field goals or touchdowns. Everybody's down on kicking field goals all of a sudden. The last 3 years, like, oh, don't kick my rear end. Kick, get points. This is about scoring points, and they're leaving a lot of points. Well, McManus, ven para acá. Okay. There's a lot.
There's someone who loves the field goals.
There's a lot. Oye, ven. There's a lot. Me? There's a lot of teams that get to the 5 and, oh no, we got to score. I got to get a touchdown. No, you got to get points. Get the points. That way the defense feels better. And as the kids are coming off or the guys are coming on, you look at your team and go, hey, give me the ball back. We're going to score. Give me the ball back. We're going to keep getting points. And the defense feels, oh man, that's
wind on themselves.
You get me? So again, that's one of the things that bothered me about that game. That the speed of USC was evident, but the running ability of Stanford and the quarterback played pretty good. And again, like I said, yardage wise, they were even. This week, I think Fresno State has a good shot to stay in there. I saw a few things with USC that everybody's they're not that great. They're not that great.
And on that note, we're gonna be right back with the deep dive. Close the show up with our daily or weekly deep dive. I don't know, Coach got some insider information here that he says that he needs to talk about it off air.
No.
So.
I wish it got nothing to do with the deep dive. Which, by the way, the deep dive is deep underwater right now. We're -4 units. We've on the pod. We've only hit 40% of our plays. Off the pod on my own plays, I'm up to 52%. I was able to take UM second half. There's a couple other plays I'm able to do on my own that I just don't have time to put on the pod. But this week we have about 6-7 games that we feel good about. We're already taking a look at closing line value. We're starting to get some closing line value on some of the games that we have. So we want to put it out there. I'm going to put it on Twitter as quickly as possible so you guys don't get shut out of it. Number 1, we want to jump all over Florida State against Louisville. Florida State plays at Louisville. We're going to take that game. Money line, we got it at 130. It's already at 135, and the line is moving from 2.5 to 3. I think the Florida State defense will be able to contain the Louisville offense. They have not played well all season. To be honest with you, they're only averaging 13.5 points a game. Even last week when they won and we took them to win in the first half, they struggled to move the ball, and they only scored 20 points in that game. And I believe that the FSU defense is as good as Syracuse, and Syracuse blanked them. Our next game is that same Syracuse team. We're taking them at Pick'em. The line moved from Purdue -1 to Syracuse Pick'em. Purdue's a very one-sided, one-dimensional team. They're 111th in the run game with 70 yards a game. They're number 11 in the pass offense with 356 yards per game. We like Syracuse because they're balanced. Their defense is number 17 in points allowed, with only 10.5. They do run the ball well. They pass the ball well also. They're number 17 in defense in total yards as well, with 268 yards per game. So again, we feel that Syracuse at home is a good play against Purdue. We're gonna fade Indiana. We like Western Kentucky this week, +6.5. It opened at 7.5.
Starting to get disgusting.
Hey, listen, sometimes you gotta get in there. You gotta get. Listen, Kansas last week got the win. If we would have taken that money line, that would have been a sweet game right there, money line. Okay, but we try to keep it and try to play it safe to try to make sure we can win some games. But we've been getting slobbered lately and slaughtered, and hasn't been good. But again, Indiana has played Illinois. They beat Illinois. But with that being said, Illinois had 4 turnovers. They had 448 yards of offense, 232 passing yards. Okay? Indiana only had 362 in that game. They played Idaho, which sucked. That was their second game. Western Kentucky hasn't played too many people, but if you remember them from last year, their offense is run and gun. It's a spread out offense. Their OC left and their quarterback left, but they have a kid that's playing quarterback that's pretty solid. And the offensive coordinator that took over is a disciple of the other OC. The BYU Oregon game that we talked about, Oregon's favored by 3.5. It's moved off of 4. I've taken the 3.5. I like BYU. BYU has played USF and Baylor. They blew USF out. They played Baylor tough at Baylor and ended up beating them in double overtime. Oregon, we know what they did against Georgia. They played Eastern Washington last week. They scored 70 points. Okay? So again, I mean, I think the BYU defense, mind you, BYU won last week without their 2 best receivers. Their 2 best receivers were injured from week 1. They should be back against Oregon, which again gives me even a better feeling with BYU covering that the 3.5. You get the hook, you're good. The next game is going to be, it's a bit of a homer. I'm taking NC State against Texas Tech. I know Texas Tech looked great against Houston. They played well. They ended up winning in double overtime. They converted a 4th and 20. A 4th and 20 in the first overtime. Okay? If Houston stops them there, we win the game. So again, that's another one that we had on money line and didn't work out. I do think that they gave up too many yards. I think that the NC State defense will be able to play against them and stop them. I know NC State didn't look great against East Carolina, but they did win. And I do think that they'll step up here. They'll be at home. The next game is a little bit of a disgusting game. We're going with the Miners. UTEP Miners. We're going -3 against New Mexico.
Jesus Christ.
At New Mexico. It's the way we like to go, guys. It's like the way we roll. Again, I do think they've played the tougher schedule. They played North Texas, which beat them. And again, they were even in yards. They had turnovers. They played Oklahoma, which smoked them. And they played New Mexico State, which they beat. New Mexico played Maine, which goes without being said. And then they got beat by Boise.
The Minutemen?
The Minutemen, in more ways than one. The next game is a teaser game. Well, what I did was I teased SMU to 9.5 and the over to 67.5. Usually I don't like teasing overs, but again, this over had already moved from 69 to 73. I think they're gonna score points. I think SMU can keep it close. I do think that, again, even though this is Lashley's first year as a head coach there, he recruited a lot of the kids that are there because he was there as Sonny Dykes' OC. So I think that they're going to give Maryland a great game. I think their defense is solid or is better than what Maryland has. Maryland's played Buffalo and Charlotte. SMU's played Texas and a Duck. So again, they really haven't played anybody. It's going to be the best competition they have. So we'll see how this one works out.
That's the deep dive.
That's the deep dive, baby. We're looking for a big bounce back this week.
Hey, baby. Grizz, what do you think there?
I'm lost. That wasn't what I was reading off air, but I just heard New Mexico and I was like, I stepped out for that.
Oh, we're not taking New Mexico State. I mean, we're taking Utah.
I know. UTEP, New Mexico, I just don't know. I've driven through New Mexico. That's all I got for you. It's the enchanted state.
Oh, man.
I, off the air, was looking at some games. Bold pick for me. UTSA upsets Texas. Just drop it.
Wow.
I'll tell you what. Now, if you tell me they're gonna cover the spread, I wouldn't lie. I think that's not a bad play.
Outright win.
Okay, but no, I mean, I don't think so. They're playing at Texas.
You think they're gonna have a hangover?
Yeah, I do. Listen,
I don't know.
Other great teams have lost in the last couple weeks.
No.
What's the worst thing that I can say?
Listen, we're gonna leave it on that note. On that note, I think that sums it up, ladies and gentlemen. This was, I think, phenomenal show. That's just bombs after bombs here in the last segment. That was phenomenal. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how this goes along. I'm a little taken aback here. sponsor, Chano Carnitas Gourmet Meats. Always here for your tailgating needs. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 coaches, 1 Grizz. Out.